Lesson 5-7, Subtracting Fractions. In this lesson, you're going to learn to solve a fraction number story. You're going to share strategies for solving that number story. And we're going to start off first by doing our mental math and fluency. Equivalent fractions. Take a look at the fractions on your screen. How are they equivalent? Meaning, how do you know they're equivalent? Well, hopefully you're seeing that 1 times 4 will give you 4, and 2 times 4 will give you 8. So multiplying both the numerator and denominator by the same number makes them equivalent. Let's look at the next one. 2/3 and 4/6. How does 3 become 6? Times 2. How does 2 become 4? Times 2. So both of them we are multiplying times 2. That's how we know they're equivalent fractions. And finally, 1/6 and 2/12. Again, 1 times 2 is 2, and 6 times 2 is 12. Multiplying them both by the same number makes them equivalent. Ella bought 7/8 of a yard of fabric to make a pillowcase. She used only 5/8 of a yard. How much fabric does she have left? Well, if you started out with 7/8 and you're taking away 5/8, first we make sure our denominators are the same, and they are, so we leave that alone and write it down. And then we subtract the two numerators. 7 minus 5 equals 2. What's my whole? Well, it asks you how much fabric does she have left, and it says right here she used 5/8 of a yard. So that's what we write in the whole spot. Different strategies. Well, here you can see that I drew it. I drew what is supposed to be a perfect circle. And since it says we started with 7/8 of that, I drew it into eighths, and then I erased that eighth so that I had exactly 7. I colored in the 5/8 that I used, and it shows you that I have 2 sections, so it is 2 out of the 8. So this reads, Kunwar lives 7/10 of a mile from the community pool. Tyler lives 3/10 of a mile away. How much farther from the pool does Kunwar live than Tyler? So what was our whole? Our whole was that mile. So I wrote that in the box that says whole. I took 7/10 minus 3/10. Again, my denominators are the same, so I wrote that number down. Then I subtract the numerator. 7 minus 3 equals 4. So 4/10 of a mile. That's my units. Does each fraction in this problem refer to the same whole? Well, yes, because we're talking about the mile. And will the answer be more or less than a mile? Well, if it's only 4/10 of a mile, it's going to be less than. Again, read this number story to yourself as I read it out loud. And it says, solve the number story on this screen and the next. Use different strategies for each one. The average amount of precipitation in Death Valley, California in January is 39/100ths of an inch. The average in February is 52/100ths of an inch. On average, how much more precipitation is there in February than in January? So A tells me, hey, fill in that whole box. So my whole is 1 inch. Next, it says write a number model with the unknown. Okay, so we look back up here at the fractions it gave us. It says in January it's 39/100ths and February is 52. Well, we're going to write 52 first because that is the greater number fraction. We're trying to see how much more it is in January, so we're subtracting 39 hundredths to get our answer. But we don't know for sure what it is yet, and since we're talking about precipitation, I'm going to put R as the unknown for rain. Now, you could put some other letter. It really doesn't matter. So, one way to solve it, sorry, just a moment. So now in C, it's asking you, what's one way to solve a fraction subtraction problem? Well, one way is to use fraction names. For instance, you could write 52 hundredths, and this is going to take me way longer to do with you using this cursor than if I was trying to do it on the board. Sorry, I forgot which letter I was on. Minus 39 hundredths. I think I forgot that here. Equals 13 hundredths. I notice that as I write, the more I write, I start to write larger. So what's my answer with the units? It's going to be 13. Notice now I'm going to write it as a fraction. Hundredths inch. My unit, remember we saw up here, was 1 inch. So that is my unit here. 13ths inch. I want you to turn Math Journal, page 169. This is the problem that I just did for you previously. And if you need to, you can pause the recording and go back and listen to it again so that you can fill in page 169. But 169 is an assessment check-in, so I need for you to do number 2 on your own. But I will read it to you. It says, a vegetable lasagna recipe called for 3/4 a teaspoon of pepper. Caleb used 1/4 a teaspoon when he grilled the vegetables. He added the rest to the cheese mix. How much pepper did Caleb add to the cheese mix? I filled in the hole for you because as you notice here, both of them are teaspoons. So I put 1 T period. That means teaspoon, but you could practice writing out the word. So we did A together. I want you to do the number model to finish this, and I want you to either use fraction names like we wrote out in 1, or you could simply show me by using like your red fraction circle. So either way, but make sure you're drawing it or writing it here. Don't forget to answer it with the units, and then please subtract these fractions on the bottom. Pause the recording now, do page 169, and then bring it up to me so I can check it off as the assessment check-in. Once I've checked Math Journal page 169 for you, I want you to do Math Journal page 170. I am going to read the math boxes to you though so that you can do them independently. Math box 1 reads, Martha baked an apple pie for her family and cut it into 8 pieces. The family ate 2/8 of the pie on Tuesday, 6/8 of the pie on Wednesday, and 4/8 of the pie on Thursday. Choose the true statement. There are 4 people in the family. Some did not eat pie. This story is impossible. Or each person ate 2 pieces. Please draw the baked apple pie, cut it into 8 pieces, color in the fraction for the different days that they ate pie, and see which one of these statements is factual. Pause the recording now and do Math Box 1. Again, Math Journal, page 170, Math Box 2 reads, Joy Lee added together 8 ounces of butter, 1 pound of flour, 2 ounces of powdered sugar, and 12 ounces of regular sugar in a bowl. She thinks she has 23 ounces of ingredients in the bowl. Is she correct? Explain. You're going to need to change that 1 pound into ounces so that all of your measurements can be added evenly. If you don't know how many ounces are in a pound, turn to your SRB student reference books, page 191, 192, and complete this problem. Pause the recording now and do that, please. Math Box 3 is simply asking you to solve by multiplying the problem that's given, and then they want you to estimate it. You can estimate it to the 10 spot, which the 4 is telling you to leave that 8 alone, so this would round to 780. Or you could round this to the 100 spot. The 8 is larger than 5, so you would round up to 800. Pause the recording now and finish Math Box 3. Math Box 4 wants you to get out your fraction circle pieces to solve this problem. If these 2 light blues equal 2/3, what is the whole? So each one of these would be worth 1/3. This would be a third. And you should know you need to add 1 more on there to have 3/3 to equal that whole. Explain how you found your answer to problem 4. Just write what I just said. So if you need to, stop the recording, rewind it, and listen to it carefully again. Thank you. The final thing you're going to do for this unit is Math Masters, page 205. Please pause the recording and go get that now. I will read every problem to you so that you can do this independently. Number 1 asks, solve the number stories on this screen and the next one and use a different strategy for each one. Elijah still had 4/5 of his allowance at the end of the month. Then he spent 3/5 of his original allowance on a movie ticket and popcorn. How much of Elijah's allowance was left? Here again, you need to put what the whole is. The whole is the words Elijah's allowance. So you're going to need to write that in there. Then the number model with the unknown. You are looking at those 2 fractions and you need to subtract. For one way to solve the fraction problem, you need to either draw it out by drawing out 5/5 and then showing how much 4/5 would be and then circling the 3/5 that you're going to subtract, or you need to write it in fraction form in words, and that's how you're going to have to do that problem. Number 2 on Math Masters, page 205 reads, Kendra's computer battery had 9/10 of a charge. After her sister Lydia borrowed the computer, the battery had 3/10 of a charge left. How much of the battery did Lydia use? Well, your whole would be a full charge. The words full and then the word charge. The number model, in order to find this answer, you're going to need to look at 9/10, subtract, we don't know yet, C, so write the letter C there, equals the 3/10, which was left over. So again, you're going to need to show that you did a counting up method, or did you use, again, it's got to be something different. Did you draw it? Did you write it in words? And you need to write that answer. The final thing for this page you are seeing is you need to subtract the fractions that are given here, and you need to do the addition and subtraction problems here. When you complete Math Masters, page 205, please make sure you bring it up to me so that I can check it in case you misunderstood anything, and you are done with 5-7.